Now we continue our focus on the failing road infrastructure as farmers are struggling to get their produce to market due to deteriorating road infrastructure. Some have resorted to fixing their roads themselves using their own resources and money. But this takes money, of course, and costs that ultimately are passed on to you and me. Let's find out more from Thabile Nkunjana, an agricultural economist at the Agricultural Marketing Council. Good morning to you, Thabile, and thank you so much for your time. Just looking at the road infrastructure, of course, this is the backbone that also facilitates the movement of goods from farm to market. A huge concern if this is not maintained.
Absolutely. Very good morning to you and your viewers at home. So the agricultural industry, it has shown a couple of times that is one of the key or important industries in South Africa. And so when you experience issues like the infrastructure that we have been talking about for some time, it brings concerns. I mean, the industry, of course, it is one of the numbers in terms of employment that is creating, especially from the disadvantaged areas, that is rural places. So it is important that we do have, the proper infrastructure in those areas to make sure that the farmers that are doing businesses there are able to carry on with their businesses as easy as possible, at least for them to be able to get their returns, and of course to continue feeding the country and creating those necessary jobs opportunities in those areas.
Yeah, how much of snag is the bureaucracy around, for example, identifying certain key feeding roads as national roads, as we were at Maspastrum yesterday in Limpopo, saying that this is the nerve center where the community is, but unfortunately it falls under the local Limpopo municipality or road agency and not the national roads agency. Therefore, SANRAL cannot interfere in that sense.
I think that talks to the issues around where there's a mismatch between who should be doing what, or the jobs that cut across from certain jurisdictions to another. So, for instance, in this case, you're talking about a specific area, and there's definitely a municipality that is allocated to take care of that. And therefore, if they are not necessarily doing their job, it tends to be kind of a tedious process from the national authorities to get into those areas and be sort of an eye and push for people that are being put in offices of the public to do their jobs. I mean, the issue of people not necessarily getting into offices doing their necessary job, I think it's one of the main issues that has been talked about for a number of times in South Africa. But it's something that I know it is within certain areas, but it's a matter of how to get the state or the governance coordinated properly from the national to province and then districts, and of course deep into where the communities are situated at.
Yeah, we've seen a number of communities literally just taking matters into their own hands and trying to resolve the challenges that they're facing. But when that happens, there are costs that will be incurred to the consumer as well. It is inevitable. But what do you do under these circumstances?
I think first off, I mean, even if we are to, I think not so long ago, we have seen a situation around Joburg where commuters were trying to fix the road themselves. And by law, that is not allowed. They should not be able to do that. And then at the same time, you have seen farmers in Free State, taking money out of their pockets, hiring, the necessary equipment to fix roads because they need that. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that I think eventually it is going to have to be, given attention that it requires. Because, I mean, if we are to, overlook the roads, look at the state of the rails at the moment. It's one of the things that is actually putting more pressure on the roads that we have, because a lot of goods that used to be transported via, the rails are now being transported through the roads. And that, of course, it puts more pressure because the heavy-duty vehicles are kind of more of an issue for the roads that are not properly maintained. So it's just a matter of people getting to do their jobs. I think that's how I can put it, because it is a necessity that somehow it has to be fixed, and the sooner the better, because this has implications not only for the jobs, I mean for the economy of the country in general.
Yeah, and maybe like the picture you're painting is the fact that we are in serious trouble. The road infrastructure has not been maintained. We're now playing catch up, trying to, back up from 20 odd years ago. Now, the National Development Plan 2030 is supposed to have measuring and evaluation instruments in place to see where we are in trying to resolve these problems. What does the picture look like?
I'm glad that you're bringing in the issue of the National Development Plan. I think like not so long ago, we were looking at people, especially that are in the agro space, we are evaluating some of the goals that the National Development Plan, was intended for. And one of the issues that was picked was that some of the goals, particularly from the perspective of the agro industry, was that they were not met. And one of the reasons that was because the infrastructure, the supporting infrastructure that was supposed, or at least that was put, as something that was going to drive the National Development Plan, was not achieved because of some of the failures that were around that time. I mean, we're only like few years to 2030, where most of the goals that the National Development Plan was targeted for. So it means that's one of the issues, that we can have all these plans as much as we like, but if we are not putting in the necessary, infrastructure and other supporting systems to ensure that the economy of the country it is supported. That is, by economy, I mean like even the supporting, sectors to the agriculture sector specifically, and other, there are other sectors that are also very highly dependent. They talk about the mining, all those, other sectors that are necessarily depending on the infrastructure. So that's one of their issues, that, we haven't achieved some of the goals from the National Development itself. It's because of those kind of lack of coordination and people getting to do, their roles in their respective offices.
Yeah, we'll certainly touch base with you, because, I mean, this is a very serious matter, perennial problem, but nonetheless, all we can do is ventilate and hopefully come to some solutions as we, and as a country, are very patriotic, obviously, and wanting to see the South Africa become a winning nation. Now, Thabile Nkunjana is an agricultural economist at the National Agricultural Marketing Council, speaking to us about the impact of the failing road infrastructure.